Hello all, welcome to my channel. In today's video lecture, we will be discussing the ultrastructure of a eukaryotic algal cell. Now, as we all know, the cells that are present in an algal thallus can be either eukaryotic or prokaryotic. The prokaryotic algae are called as blue-green algae or cyanobacteria, and their cell structure is very different from that of a eukaryotic algal cell because in a prokaryotic cell, there is no membrane-bound organelle, and whatever pigments are present in the prokaryotic algae, these pigments are spread out or arranged near the cell membrane. Additionally, there is no nucleus, so the nuclear material is present in the form of incipient nucleus which is spread out in the center of the cell. But in a eukaryote, being a typical eukaryotic cell, there are different cell organelles that are present, and that is exactly what we will be looking to today. Now, this is just a cell structure that I have shown you, that is a representation of a eukaryotic cell, eukaryotic algal cell. Not all algae look like this, not all the algal cells are like this. This is just a representation picture. This is actually Chlamydomonas, which is a unicellular algae. Now this algae has several parts to it. It even has flagellum, but as we go further into the class, we will see not all the algae contain flagella. But there are many other organelles which are common in Chlamydomonas and the other higher eukaryotic algae. That is the reason this picture has been put over here. As you can see here, the outermost layer of the algae is the cell wall. So cell wall comprises of the outermost or the external layer of the algae. In many algae or in many of the algal species, external to the cell wall, there is a gelatinous sheath. As you can see here, there is an external gelatinous sheath that is present external to that of the cell wall. But in many of the algae or most of the algae, the outermost layer is cell wall. And let us see what is the cell wall made up of. So the cell wall of algae is very definite. It is present external to the protoplast and it is made up of cellulose, callose and pectin. Now when I say protoplast, protoplast is the living substance that is present internal to the cell wall. All the structures within the cell wall are termed as the protoplast. And external to this protoplast or covering this protoplast is the cell wall. In most cases, it is made up of cellulose and pectin, but in some cases, in some algae, we do see pectin and chitin as well. And hemicellulose is a common component that is present in all the algal cell walls. In some of the marine forms of algae, we do find lime and even silica in the cell walls because these are organisms or these are algae which are adapted to such conditions. So lime and silica being found in the cell wall is optional, is not always found, but the other components, that is cellulose, callose, pectin, chitin, are commonly found in the cell wall of algae. And if there is a pectic compound in the algae, that makes the cell wall to be gummy in nature or slimy or mucoid in nature. So the algae which are very mucoid to touch, they have a high content of pectin in them, and when the pectin dissolves in water, that is why it gives a gummy nature. Most of the algae are having cell walls which are made up of multiple microfibrils. So this is the external layer of every algal cell. Inner to this layer is the protoplast. Now the protoplast is the living substance and it is bounded by a plasma membrane. Now this plasma membrane is a differentially permeable plasma membrane. So every protoplast will be bound by a differentially permeable plasma membrane. It is differentiated or split up into different layers which are made up of proteins and lipid. Like all the other cell membranes or like all the other plasma membranes, the algal cell membrane is also made up of phospholipid bilayer. That is the reason I told you that it is made up of proteins as well as lipids. These are the constituents of a plasma membrane that is differentially permeable. The plasma membrane is enclosing the cytoplasm, and in the cytoplasm we have several organelles that are present. Now this cytoplasm is viscous, and in algal cells the identifying or very unique feature is that it contains a central tonoplast or central vacuole. It contains a central vacuole. So the central vacuole is present in all the algal cells. In fact, in some algae, it is so huge that it pushes the cytoplasm to the sides, and the cytoplasm now appears as a thin layer next to the cell wall. But every algal cell will have the central vacuole. This central vacuole is present in the viscous cytoplasm, and these central vacuoles may be absent in the simpler motile forms, but most of the algae have the central vacuole. The membrane that is surrounding the central vacuole is called as the tonoplast. Now, this vacuole has several functions. It is helping in excretory functions. It is helping as a storehouse of minerals and enzymes. So, that is the reason most of the algal cells contain central vacuole. There is also plasmodesmata, which is seen in some of the filamentous forms. Now, these plasmodesmata are cytoplasmic connections between the adjacent cells of the algae, exactly like how you see in a plant cell. So, these cytoplasmic connections or plasmodesmata are seen only in case of filamentous forms or even in some colonial forms where it helps in exchange of materials from one cell to the other. Apart from these, the viscous cytoplasm consists of various organelles. Now, the most important of these organelles is the nucleus, because that is the storehouse of the genetic information of the algae, and the nucleus is bound by a cell membrane. So, it is bound by a nuclear membrane. It is well-defined nucleus that is present in algae, and which is bound by the double-layered nuclear membrane. Inside the nucleus, we see nucleoli and chromatin network. Apart from that, there are several other organelles such as mitochondria, Golgi apparatus. Each of these have a specific function. For example, mitochondria is helping in the energy production of the cell, or Golgi apparatus is helping in the secretory function of the cell. So it is packing the things and helping in the secretory function of the cell. Or ribosomes are acting as the workbench for protein synthesis, and so on. One of the important organelles which is present in an algal cell is the plastids, and that is what we will be getting into in detail. So plastids are structures which contain pigments. That is why we call them as plastids. Basically, they are the site of manufacture and storage of the chemical compound. So this is the site wherein the organism shows photosynthesis. Now, algae being photosynthetic in nature, the presence of plastids is very, very important. But the plastids here are slightly different from that of the plant plastids, because in the algal plastids, there are structures called as pyrenoids. I'll be showing it to you in the later slides. These pyrenoids are helping in the carbon dioxide fixation. So pyrenoids are the actual site of carbon dioxide fixation, and pyrenoids are absent in plant plastids. So in algal plastids, presence of pyrenoids is a unique feature. Now, there are different types of plastids. We can have chloroplast, chromoplast, leucoplast, but I will be dealing with two important plastids which are seen in the eukaryotic algae. The first one being chloroplast. Now, chloroplast consists of chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B, and these chlorophylls are certain algal pigments. I'll be telling you a little about it in the next slide. So, chloroplasts are rich in chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Example, you see more of chloroplasts in Tara, Volvox. Many of the green algae have a rich composition of chloroplast. The other type of plastids are chromatophores. Now, chromatophores do have chlorophyll A. As I'll be telling you later, chlorophyll is required for photosynthesis. But apart from chlorophyll A, they contain a large composition of carotenoids. And these carotenoids give them a different color, like orange or yellow or red. And this is seen mainly in the higher algae, such as the brown algae, Sargassum, Laminaria, or even in red algae like Porphyra. So these are the two types of plastids, mainly based on the type of pigment that is present in them, mainly based on the type of photosynthetic pigment that is present in them. The chloroplast, if the organism has chloroplast, it bears a huge resemblance to the plant chloroplast because it has lamellae, which can be disc or thylakoid shape. Lamellae are basically they contain the lipoproteins, and around 3 to 7 of them will fuse to form the grana. So exactly like how you have a plant chloroplast, you do have chloroplasts in algae as well. The chromatophores on the other side are usually discoid shape, or they'll be spherical shape. They are different in shape, and that is the difference between chloroplasts and chromatophores. So these two plastids are mainly characterized based on the pigments they contain. Now, chlorophyll is the most important pigment, or the core pigment, which is present in all the reaction centers for photosynthesis. Reaction center is the central area where actual photosynthesis occurs, where the actual light reaction occurs. And chlorophylls, all the types of chlorophylls like A, B, C, D, E, all of these chlorophylls are involved in doing the actual light reaction of photosynthesis. They absorb the blue and the red rays, that's why they appear green in color, and their distribution varies from one organism to other, but usually all the organisms will have chlorophyll A. The other chlorophylls distribution will vary because they are the reaction center pigment. They need to be present in an organism to carry out photosynthesis. The next set of pigments are the carotenoids, which are the accessory pigments or the light harvesting pigments. Now what they do is they will absorb the rays of light and pass it on to the chlorophyll, that is to the reaction center. So their job is to harvest the light and pass it on to the main pigment or the core pigment or the chlorophyll. So carotenoids are the major light harvesting pigments that you find in algal cell, and they also have a function of photoprotection. That is, they are photoprotective in nature. They prevent the cells or the cell contents from getting oxidized. So they are photoprotective as well as light harvesting in nature. They absorb blue and green rays. That is why their colors, the carotenoids usually have yellow, orange, red, brown, and a mixture of these colors. There are two types of carotenoids. We have carotenes and xanthophylls. Carotenes are unsaturated hydrocarbons, whereas xanthophylls are unsaturated hydrocarbons which contain oxygen in them. So oxygen is a major component of xanthophylls, whereas carotenes have more of carbon and hydrogen. Carotenes example include alpha carotene, beta carotene, gamma carotene, lycopene. These are the usual examples, and their color usually tends to be orange to yellow. Whereas xanthophylls are the unsaturated hydrocarbons with oxygen in them. Examples include fucoxanthin, flavoxanthin, diatoxanthin, taraxanthin, and these xanthophylls usually tend to be yellow to brown in color. So their colors are mainly based on what type of pigments they are absorbing. The third type of algal pigment, which is present as a light harvesting pigment or as an accessory pigment, is the phycobiliproteins. Now, phycobilins or phycobiliproteins are very important when we talk about cyanobacteria, but they are present in some of the algae as well, eukaryotic algae as well. So these phycobiliproteins are tetrapyrrolic compounds. Examples include phycoerythrin, phycocyanin, and allophycocyanin. These are usually found only in blue-green algae, but in some of the higher algae like Batrachospermum, Porphyra, Fucus, Polysiphonia, these red algae, you do find phycobilins as well. So they are light harvesting pigments exactly like carotenoids. The pigments which are reaction center pigments or the core pigments which are carrying out light reaction are the chlorophylls. So these comprise all the pigments which are found in the plastids. Like I told you earlier, it could be either a chloroplast or it could be a chromatophore based on how or what is the content of pigment, which type of pigments are present more, or the ratio of the pigments, the color that is imparted to them. Based on that, we have chloroplasts and chromatophores. The next important organelle that is present in algae, of course, not in all the algae, but in many of the algae, is the flagella. So let us look into it. Now, the flagella is an organelle or is a component of the cell which provides motility to the organism. So the motile cells of algae, if they are motile, not all cells are motile, if they are motile, these motile cells are comprising of these fine protoplasmic whip-like threads that we call as flagella. These are emerging from the cytoplasm, but there is a lot of variation that we see in the flagella length, in the structure, everything. So the flagella can be either present as a single flagellum, or it can be present as a pair of flagellum, which is very common, or a tuft of flagellum, which is actually rare in case of algal cells. And these flagella can be either of the whiplash type or the tinsel type. Now the whiplash type of flagella are those which are having a smooth surface. As you can see here, it's a smooth surface. So these are also called as acronymatic or Pechgeisel flagella, which have a smooth surface, whereas tinsel flagella or pantonymatic or Flimmergiesel flagella are those which have many rows of minute hair, fine flimmer-like hair on the main flagellum strand. So there is a main flagellum strand to which there are rows of fine flimmer hair that are attached. This kind of a flagellum is called as a tinsel flagellum or a pantonymatic flagellum, and the organism, the algae, can have either type of flagella in it, or it could even have both. The flagella can be divided as isocontic or heterocontic based on its length. Isocontic flagella is when two flagella or more than one flagella are equal in length. We call it as an isocont. And heterocont is when they are unequal in length. So you will see some organisms where one flagella is very long and the other flagella is really short. That kind of a flagellum is or arrangement is called as a heterocont arrangement. Now at the base of the flagellum, where it arises in the cell, at the base of the flagellum there is a granule, and that granule is called as the blepharoplast or the basal body. So blepharoplast or basal body is the granule from where the flagellum is arising in the cytoplasm. When we talk about the structure of flagellum, the core of the flagellum, the central part of the flagellum, is made up of an axial filament that we call as axoneme, and it terminates in a small portion, which is a naked portion, that is we call as an end piece. So an axoneme is, this is how you can see it over here. An axoneme is the central part of the filament, that is the axial filament, and this is surrounded by a sheath that is basically an extension of the plasma membrane itself. So it is surrounded by a sheath. This sheathed region is called as the axoneme. It is the core of the flagellum. It is surrounded by the sheath, but at the tip, at the terminus, there is a small naked portion which is not surrounded by the sheath. That is why we call it as a naked portion, and that naked portion is called as the end piece. So a flagellum is made up of axoneme and the end piece. Now, inside the flagellum, or when we take a cross section of the flagellum, what we see is that the fibrils, the flagella's fibrils are arranged in a 9+2 arrangement. What does that mean? When we say 9+2, it means there are 9 peripheral double fibrils. As you can see over here, there are double fibrils over here and there are 9 pairs of it. That is why it is called as 9. And the 2 are referring to the 2 central fibrils, which are simple single fibrils. They are not attached. So when you take a cross section of the flagella, what you actually see is that there are 9 peripheral double fibrils and 2 central simple fibrils which are not attached to each other. This is called as the 9+2 arrangement of the flagella. Of course, the type of flagella, the number of flagella, the position of the flagella, everything will vary from one organism to the other, and actually it is an important feature when you talk about classification of the algae. Now there is one more small component that is called as an eye spot or a stigma. It is a photoreceptive organ and it is usually found associated with the flagella. So it helps in phototaxis of the organism or movement of the organism away or towards the light. Usually it is associated with the flagella, but in case of Chlamydomonas, the eye spot or stigma is associated with the chloroplast. So it is a photoreceptive organ there also, but because it is consisting of pigments and because it consists of lens, it is associated with the chloroplast only in the case of Chlamydomonas. In all the other algal cells, we find that it is associated with the flagella and it is helping in phototaxis of the organism. When we look at the structure of eye spot or the stigma, it is made up of curved pigmented plates. As you can see over here, it is made up of curved pigmented plates. Pigments are usually carotenoids which are present, mostly carotenoids. And there are 2 to 3 rows, parallel rows of these granules or droplets. As you can see here, there are 2 to 3 rows of droplets or granules, and each of these granules is rich in the carotenoid pigment. So there are pigmented plates with carotenoids. That is why in case of Chlamydomonas, it is associated with the chloroplast, but usually it is associated with flagella and it helps in phototaxis. Another thing to remember is that this eye spot or stigma is usually enclosed in a membranous envelope. Coming to the last part of an algal cell. So the algal cell are rich in reserve food material because they show photosynthesis. Once they finish the photosynthesis, they store the food in the form of reserve food material, and these are varied from one class to another. So the food material can usually accumulate in the form of polysaccharides. In case of the lower algae like Chlorophyta, it is true starch. But when we see cyanobacteria, it is cyanophycean starch. Or when we see Rhodophyta, that is the red algae, it is Floridian starch. When we look into brown algae, it is laminarin. Or when we look into the diatoms or Xanthophyta, it is leucosin. All these are modifications of simple polysaccharides or simple starch. But because they are modified versions which are found in certain classes of algae or groups of algae, we have given them a different name. The reserve food material can also be present in the form of fats or mannitol or oil droplets. That's also possible, but usually the reserve food material is present in the form of a polysaccharide, maybe a modified polysaccharide, but usually a polysaccharide. The reason this is important is because the reserve food material, the flagella and its arrangement, and the pigments which are present in an algal cell are some of the core characteristics which are involved in the classification of algae. So we will be looking into the classification of algae a little later, but all of these characteristics are very important when we talk about the different algal classes. I hope the lecture is clear to you all. Thank you.